All right, it's gonna be Enmity part 4. Now, in this part, I want to cover the time of the tribes of Israel who were in Egypt, and it tells you what happened between the divided kingdom in Egypt. I say the time of King David becoming the sole king over the two kingdoms, Judah and of northern Israel, who's predominantly supposed to be ruled by Ephraim in the north. At Shiloh. At Shiloh, they had a temple, and they had a temple in Jerusalem. All right, those are the upper and those are the two kingdoms, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And in that same period, we said the 21st dynasty in Egypt reigned as virtual kings. They don't say that on any other part of the list. Ruling as virtual kings, high priest of Ammon at Thebes at the best. Okay. And I say Pasusanes is King David. Simon the Pharaoh is King Solomon of the Bible, because the Greeks translated this, right? And later retold it, and they are the liars. Okay, here we go. In the book of Herodotus, this is book 2, 151. This story is linked. All right, it says, the 12 kings for some time dealt honorably by one another, but at length it happened that on a certain occasion, when they had met to worship in the temple of Vulcan. The temple of Vulcan is the temple of Ptah. At the Ramesside at Amun-Ra, right? The temple of Amun-Ra. There's one in Karnak, there's one in Luxor. So, the temple of Ptah. The high priest on the last day of the festival, in bringing forth the golden goblets from which they were wont to pour their libations, mistook the number and brought 11 goblets only for the 12 princes. So the 12 princes are the 12 leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel, who have became the heirs or the inheritors over the land of Egypt. The land of Egypt belongs to the Israelites. They are seed of Abraham. That's who Abraham gave his blessing to Isaac. And then Jacob blessed his sons. Okay, they're in the land of Egypt. That's who the land belongs to. All right. All right, this is the time of Psammeticus, or Psamtic II. The time of Psammeticus was standing last. And being left without a cup, he took his helmet, which was of bronze, from off his head, stretched it out to receive the liquor, and so made his libation. All the kings were accustomed to wear helmets, and all indeed wore them at this very time. So start right there. That's the colossal skulls we saw at Oaxaca, in San Lorenzo Tenochtitlan in Mexico. The 12 colossal heads of the Olmecs, I believe, is the same thing. You know, we've been talking about the Olmecs when they came into Oaxaca. Oaxaca is on the Pacific side of Mexico. We found these colossal skulls there. So, it was a number of them. It was around about 12 of them. We're going to go back and dimp on that. Let's continue. I'll come back to that note. They was all wont to wear helmets. Psammeticus was standing last, and being left without a cup, he took his helmet, which was of bronze. Bronze helmets. From off his head, stretched it out to receive the liquor, and so made his libation. All the kings were accustomed to wear helmets, and all indeed wore them at this very time. Nor was there any crafty design in the action of Psammeticus. The 11, however, when they came to consider what had been done, and bethought them of the oracle, which had declared that he who of the 12 should pour a libation from a cup of bronze. The same would be king of the whole land of Egypt. Doubted at first if they should not put Psammetichus to death, finding, however, upon examination that he had acted in the matter without any guilty intent. They did not think it would be just to kill him, but determined instead to strip him of the chief part of his power and to banish him to the marshes, forbidding him to leave them or to hold any communication with the rest of Egypt. Start right there. Now, this sounds like the same thing that happened in the previous generation with the same 12 from the tribe of Joseph, because like we read in the Bible, Joseph's brothers hated him. They shot at him, but then the blessing of Israel was on the house of Joseph. And he was a one who conquered with the bow and the arrow at the end. He conquered his enemies, Joseph. This was the prophecy that was in the book of Genesis 48, the same thing. So I think Psammetichus or Psamtik must be a descendant from the house of Joseph, who in Kemet was called Dejahuti Hotep. Okay. But in the Bible, Joseph was the hated son. Just the same thing. They banished Joseph in the Bible. Now, Psammetichus was banished by the other 11 kings over the whole nome of Egypt that has many different nomes or regions, okay? And it needed 12 to govern the whole land the right way, okay? All right, 152. Book 2, 152 says, this was the second time that Psammetichus had been driven into banishment. On a former occasion, he had fled from Sabakos, the king of Ethiopia, who had put his father Nakos to death, and had taken refuge in Syria, from whence, after the retirement of the Ethiop, in consequence of his dream, he was brought back by the Egyptians of the Saitic canton. Now, it was his ill fortune to be banished a second time by the 11 kings. On account of the libation which he had poured from his helmet, on this occasion he fled to the marshes, feeling that he was an injured man and designing to avenge himself upon his persecutors. Psammetichus sent to the city of Butho, where there is an oracle of Latona, the most veracious of all the oracles of the Egyptians, and having inquired concerning means of vengeance, received for answer that vengeance would come from the sea, when brazen men should appear. Great was his incredulity when this answer arrived, for never, he thought, would brazen men arrive to be his helpers. However, not long afterwards, certain Carians and Ionians, who had left their country on a voyage of plunder, were carried by stress of weather to Egypt, where they disembarked, all equipped in their brazen armor, and were seen by the natives, one of whom carried the tidings to Psammetichus. And as he had never before seen men clad in brass, he reported that the brazen men had come from the sea and were plundering the plain. Psammetichus, perceiving at once that the oracle was accomplished, made friendly advances to the strangers and engaged them by splendid promises to enter into his service. He then, when their aid and that of the Egyptians who espoused his cause, attacked the 11 and vanquished the rest. Okay, so Psammetichus brought in the Greeks into Egypt, and they vanquished the other native rulers of the Egyptian Empire. Okay. So we're going to look at this on the analysis of the kings of Egypt real quick. Give me a brief moment. Okay, I found something else. Here's the colossal heads of the Olmecs, because he said they all wore helmets. This is what we found at San Lorenzo, Tenochtitlan in Mexico, and it's dated to around the 900 BC period, and during the time of this King Psamtik II. Let me find the king's list. Okay, here we go. The 11th. Okay. Now let me count the colossal skulls on here. How many do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You count 17 different colossal skulls or stone colossal heads of the Olmecs from San Lorenzo, Tenochtitlan, the Olmec settlement in Oaxaca. Oaxaca in Mexico, of the Olmecs. All right, Psalm Medicus, 26th dynasty. Psamtik the first was 664 through 610 BC. This is the 600 BC period. The Book of Mormon says Lehi and his 3 sons left all of Jerusalem 14 years before the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed by Babylon in 586 BC. So that's the same period. Psamtik, 664 through 610 BC. Necho, the father of Psamtik II, who this book is talking about, Necho reigned from 610 to 595 BC. Psamtik II, 595 to 589. 3 years before the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed. So it is linked. I know I'm on it. That is right. And the Greeks came into Egypt for the first time around that period, 664 BC. During the reign of Necho II. So 600 BC, before the fall of Jerusalem to Babylon. Okay, around 600 BC. That's when the Greeks came in to Egypt for the first time and laid their eyes on it. All right. I also mentioned the 12 princes that Herodotus is talking about are the last descendants of the tribes of Israel. And we're going to look at that. Okay, go back to Genesis. Chapter 48. When it's talking about the blessing that Israel gave unto his sons. And I'm going to just particularly look at what he said about Joseph. In the house of Joseph. When Jacob blesses his sons, 49. Let's look at Joseph. 49:22. He says, Joseph is a fruitful vine near a spring, whose branches climb over a wall. With bitterness, archers attacked him. They shot at him with hostility. But his bow remained steady. His strong arms stayed limber because of the hand of the mighty one of Jacob. Because of the shepherd, the rock of Israel. Because of your father's God, who helps you. because of the Almighty who blesses you. We bless